You guys didn't think I was going to let you go without hearing what it sounded like, did you? Gotcha. All right, you guys, so it's a nice afternoon, late afternoon. It's like 5:30, 6 o'clock. Just got finished live streaming some video games. I was up super late last night. A new game released, and it's like an exploration game, No Man's Sky, and I just got kind of lost in it, and so I'm working on zero sleep. But I had finally ordered some parts after a lot of research into what I want to, what I want to spend the money on, and also like where to get it, because there's a lot of places to get it. A lot of them are actually in Thailand, which might be okay parts, but I like to try and get stuff that's I can get locally, at least in the U.S., because funny enough, one of the things came from like North Carolina or something, but it came in like 2 days, which was ridiculously good shipping for just the regular post office. So I got some things. I put together a little list. Did like at least 2 weeks worth of research, kind of figuring out, because like Fender Eliminator, for example, there's a lot of different options for that, and I think I did pretty good. I'm happy with what I got. I just got everything. I got 1 box yesterday and 1 box today, 2 boxes today. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put some of this stuff on. I'm going to show you what the bike looks like now. I'm going to try and put some of this stuff on. It may be dark by the time I finish, but this is the stuff I love to do. I love to come out in the garage. Like, I got stuff going on inside where I'm rendering videos, and it's going to be 4 hours worth of rendering. So it gives me time to come outside and play around with the stuff that I really like doing. So we'll take a little quick look at the bike. So there's what she looks like right now. It's kind of a top-down view. But what we're going to be doing is getting rid of this rear fender. Going to be getting rid of this exhaust. Those are the 2 main things I'm going to do. And I'll show you the parts that I got over there. But those are the things I'm going to work on right now. That's the main thing. But that's what she looks like now. Little fella. It's such a small little bike. I love it. Alright, so we're just on the other side of the bike now. I've got my bench full of junk, as usual. I swear, every time I clean, well, I don't really clean, but every time I kind of rearrange and throw stuff away, it just piles right back up. It's kind of what I do. Anyway, just to let you guys know, if there's some of you out there that are actually interested in getting some of this stuff, this is the company that I ordered. It's called Man in the Box, and it's MNNTHBX. Can you see that? Man in the Box. That's where I got the majority of this stuff from, with the exception of the exhaust and the front LEDs. I got those from a place called Steady Garage, and it's in Irwindale, California, which is only 40 miles north of here. So that's pretty cool. I'm just going to go through some of this stuff, you guys. So these little LEDs, these are the front blinkers. They're smoked, but then there's LEDs in there. These are the things I got from Steady Garage. So these are going to go on to replace the things that are about this long, and they stick out really wide. Look at that. These are almost flush mount. LED, right? I got this Driven. It's called Driven. It's a mirror. This is going to be the bar end mirror. It's really small. I know you can't really see it in there. Kind of want to go through these parts really quick because I got to get to work on this stuff. So I got a bar end mirror, the LED blinkers. This is a custom LED flasher that when you have all LED blinkers on, it doesn't really work with the incandescent flashers. So I ordered this to hopefully not have some headaches. I got some they're bolts that have LEDs on these, and you mount these on, this is what holds your license plate on, and it'll give you lights so you can be legal and actually illuminate your license plate. So I got those. I got some levers, some new levers, ASV levers, ASV. They're adjustable and they're shorter because, like, with my big fat hands, I'm always running into the other levers, and they actually stick out way too far. And if you guys saw my other video, I broke this part here. You see those holes? That's where the barrels of the push-pull throttle goes in. I broke off one of these ears that actually holds the barrel in place. So I did get an aluminum Grom quick turn throttle. So we'll see. That way I don't have to kind of wrap the throttle around so much. These are pretty handy. I've had them on some other bikes. This is going to replace the back fender. This is the piece that replaces that back fender. So it's totally flush, and through this little slot you're going to get this LED. And inside this LED, it has all brake light, but then over here, like the last 4 or 5, and the last 4 or 5 here are an amber flasher. So this is your turn signals and your brake light all in one little tiny package. That should look pretty clean when it's done. So I got that. My helmet came in. I had to special order my helmet. Not that it's something special, but at Cycle Gear, who have they have at least 100 helmets on the wall. And then, you know, all the sizes. None of them fit me, except for one big fat ugly one. Looked like it was going to get shot out of a cannon. So I got this guy. It's the Punisher helmet from HJC. Just a flat matte black. Has the Punisher on the side. Has the Punisher on this side. And has it on top. Pretty cool, ghostly looking image of the Punisher. This is just kind of my thing. I call my Jeep the Punisher. I've got the little Punisher skull on the front of that. I like the Marvel stuff. I like Iron Man. I like Punisher. I like all that stuff. So it's kind of cool. But the cool thing here is if you look at the front, it's got a nice flat spot here for the GoPro mount. And up inside here, you probably can't see it, but it's got some Velcro in there already where I can Velcro my mic in there. So that should work pretty cool. I think it's cool. And it was probably, I would say this was the least expensive helmet that I found over there. I mean, they had Shoeis and Arise and stuff like that, $500, $600, $700, $800. I know it's protection from your head, but it gets to the point where you're just spending more money for a name sometimes. You know, carbon fiber, different parts, but HJC is good. It's one of the biggest in the world, I think. So, cool helmet. The last big thing is the exhaust. So, this is what I went with out of all the options I had. Yoshimura. Now, I've had Yoshimura pipes on all of my street bikes. This is it's a big brand. There is a ton of aftermarket exhausts and header pipes for these bikes. I went with Yoshimura. It cost a little bit more money than some of these other kind of brand names I've never heard of, but I like Yoshimura. I like their quality. I like the sound. I listened to a lot of YouTube videos about the sound and stuff, so sounded pretty cool, and it's pretty light for the size. It's a big pipe. I was contemplating put one of the low ride ones where it goes down by the pedal, kind of by the rear swing arm, but I opted for this, which is going to ride basically in the same stock position, right up on the right side, just below the seat. So that should be pretty cool. So I'm going to try. I don't want to rush it because I enjoy doing this stuff, but I'm going to try and get this rear fender off and get that eliminator kit and this exhaust on today and show you guys at the end here, hopefully, to finish off this video. So the day is getting a little bit long. Actually, everything came off pretty easily. I don't know if you can see here. Can you see that now? It's mounted. This is where the pipe mounts, the LEDs mount. This is it. The back is done. I mean, other than the wiring. And that's how nice and thin the profile is now. I mean, obviously the seat goes on, but it takes away all that junk. Really nice hardware. Like, it's a perfect fit. This is the man-in-the-box fender eliminator. And I gotta tell you, I put the bar end mirror, the driven bar end mirror. That driven stuff is ridiculously good. Machines, like CNC machined aluminum. I think it's all done in Chatsworth, California, which is, you know, about an hour from here or so. But it's like there's ball ends that the mirror mounts, and then on the bar end it mounts to, and I'm like trying to hold them both, and you just grab it, and the ball end literally snapped in place and held while I put the bolts in. Really good stuff. So we're replacing now. We're putting this on, and this is obviously an oversized hole. This was the bolt that came off of it, so this is not going to work on this one. This is the little pack of stuff I got from Yoshimura. See what we got in here. I thought I'd show you guys a little bit of me putting something together here, but I mean, if I showed the whole thing, it would probably be an hour long or something, because it looks like probably that this goes in there. It's a little, I bet you this goes in here. It's like a little grommet. A little grommet for your pocket. See if I can force it in by hand. Start one side, then kind of walk your way around, and then if you can't push it in, you can get a flat blade screwdriver to do it, but just be careful that your flat blade like isn't really sharp, because you can dig into this rubber pretty easily, I would imagine. I'm sure there's directions for it, but who needs directions, right? Can't really see. That's a Phillips. That's a Phillips. That's a flat. Just need the last little bit here. I know you guys probably can't see this, but I had it almost all the way in. It's just the last little bit. So there we go. Make sure that it's popped out on both sides. I don't know if this goes in here. That kind of looks like it goes in there. But this, oh yeah, it's threaded on the back side. If that goes in there, this top piece here must go up here. Yeah, it's got to be that way. We're going to go with that. So it reuses the stock exhaust gasket. So when I drop the old one off, it just stayed up in there. Just take a quick peek at it, make sure it looks okay and like it hasn't fallen out of there. But imagine this shorter one probably goes there. Again, who needs directions, right? All right, you got to feed this up between the swing arm. And I would say, take your time with this part. I would lightly start the back, because when you're working by yourself like I do all the time, if you can start a bolt like that, it holds the back up for you. It's good to have a wrench like this, so it helps you get into places. One other thing, this is the 3/8, just because this bottom 3/8 drive, this bottom 12mm was kind of tough, but all these other things, I'm using my 1/4" drive ratchet, this little guy here. So my suggestion is, if you're worried about over torquing something or stripping something, use the smallest wrench that you can, so it limits the amount of leverage you have, so you're not going to snap a bolt head off. That's my suggestion. All right, let's see if we can get this. You gonna be able to see this? Right about there. Okay. I would imagine, you know, if you're worried about getting oil from your hands on this exhaust, because it'll probably make it turn a funny color, wear gloves. But I hate wearing those rubber gloves. Your hands sweating in there. Just a nightmare. Okay, make sure that as you're tightening the exhaust flange on, you know, it pushes the exhaust up in there. Just make sure that you go in hand tight, you go in even. Because if you even go in uneven hand tight, you're going to be up against it. And you got to get your eyeball at the angle of that exhaust port. Because right, it's not flat like this, it's angled a little bit. So you get your eye and you compare the angle of the actual exhaust port versus the exhaust flange. Get it as tight as you can by hand. Wiggle it a little bit, like wiggle the pipe as you're doing it with your hand. You'll feel it move a little bit before you ever put a wrench on it. Like don't get ahead of yourself before you ever actually put a wrench on this thing. And then tighten up maybe 1/4 turns on each one. And don't get carried away with this. You don't have to get crazy, because you can look later. If you got an exhaust leak, it may have blown out your gasket. You just drop it back off, replace the gasket. But if you don't, you're good. And then after you put some miles, a couple of heat cycles through this, you know, this is not just specifically for this, it's for everything. Put a couple of heat cycles through it, let it expand and contract, expand and contract. Go and check those nuts again and make sure they're still snug. This wrench is pretty long. I can get pretty good leverage with these. So I choke up on it, kind of just use my fingertips. Try not to get too much leverage on these things, because anything on stuff like these small little motorcycles, man, you can easily break something. Still looks nice and square. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here with the 12 and tighten this bad boy up. Let's see, do I have a 12? That's a 13. I was going to use my little guy, but we can run it on with this. This is a good size bolt going into a welded in bung in the frame. So a little bit less chance of stripping this. Plus you've got this rubber grommet here, where you watch it and you don't want to squeeze the heck out of that grommet. You don't want to go nuts with it, because that is there for anti-vibration. All right. Oh. So now we got to put this on. I just snugged that up. I actually took a peek at the directions, and the directions say to use this golden bushing on the backside, but it's not the same. The directions don't show it for this bike. It's also showing, like up here, that it's actually threaded, but I think we're going into this one up here. So we're going to find out. If you run out of parts at the end, let me turn this a little bit. If you run out of parts at the end, you know you did something wrong. So we're just sliding it over this. Okay. I'm looking through the hole. It's got this crazy long bushing here. Would imagine. So I look at the parts they gave me. This is what I have left. I have a spring, this bolt, and this. But because it's not going to here, I'm taking the nut, which is still brand new, that was holding the old pipe on. I'm going to utilize that. See if this will work. Is there anything sticking through? I'll have to swing around here. Okay, push that to there. That washer there, I don't like that washer there. That looks goofy. That looks goofy. So it's got a flanged bolt, right? So whenever you have a flanged bolt, that traditionally means you don't have to use a washer there. I think they have this washer for the backside, but we don't need it on the backside because we have we have an actually flanged nut on the backside. So if you've got a flanged bolt and a flanged nut, you don't need a washer. The washer's there to spread across to make sure you have a nice spread tightening down. So that's hand tight right there, nice and snug. That looks good. The only thing we have left is this little spring, and that should go connect these two pieces down here. Now they actually provided this tool with it. It's got a little hook on the end. These are scary because they can actually pop off and come up and hit you in the face, and that actually looks like a big stretch. I'll hook the bottom first. See if I can get this in here. Okay. The little rubber grommet on the outside of it, it's got the little Yoshimura writing on it. That's it. That's it. I mean, yeah, I can snug this stuff up, but I'm not going to go crazy with tightening up this stuff before I put like at least one heat cycle through it. This back here, not that big of a deal. This down here looks pretty good. I may want to put maybe a little bit of Loctite on that. I'm not 100% sure because it does have a grommet, and when you squish a grommet down, it acts as not only a vibration dampener, but it also acts as putting some pressure back on it, which acts like a nylock, acts like a lock washer and or Loctite. The header bolts, I'm not going to go crazy up there yet. Just make sure they're nice and snug. Don't want to go too nuts. But let's I'm going to pick up the camera. We're going to get a little vibration here. Okay. So we'll take a look at this back, and you can see now how it looks. I mean, here's the pile of parts that I took off, and obviously the wire's hanging there, but you get an idea. I'm running out of daylight. There's the tail light. Well, the tail light and blinkers are all right there in that little tiny thing, and then the license plate gets mounted. I don't know if you can see, it's dark. It's mounted down there. And then the bar end I was talking about from this Driven, this is the D-axis one. Look at that. So I put it on I just cut the end of my grip, cut a hole in it, put a bar end in there so it has a place to grip. But look at that mirror. Infinite amount of adjustability on this thing. You could have the ball up here, you could have the mirror out here, you could have it down below, you can spin it whatever you want. So I mounted it, we're gonna try it like that for now. That is a pretty cool little thing. So I think it looks pretty good. I think that's That's pretty good work for one late afternoon, being pretty tired. But like I said, I love doing this stuff, so I'm out of breath because I was bending over trying to hold the camera stable and my belly pushes. Long story. Anyway guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I tried to add in a little bit, just a little bit of tech of actual hands-on. You know, I've been doing stuff like this all my life, and maybe if I can help some of you guys out there that are, you know what I find traditionally, most people are just a little bit nervous to do it themselves because they don't want to break it. That's how I was, you know. You really stretch to save the money to buy this stuff, and then you don't want to break it, so you're willing. Well, you're not willing, but you need to pay a professional to put it on. Trust me, guys. Go to some of these places where they're professionals. You know, they just have experience over you. That's it. If you've got some, you know, decent dexterity, you can do it. Just take your time. Like I said, finger tight. Watch your angles. Don't go crazy. Don't go. Look. If you start it up and write it down your driveway and back, and you hear something or you check and you see it's loose, then snug it up a little bit more. Don't win the race before you even start. I just spit on my hand. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. You guys didn't think I was gonna let you go without hearing what it sounded like, did you? Gotcha. So before you get all carried away and you want to hear the sounds of your new pipe, if you still got wires cut like I do before you finish your wiring, make sure you flag those off with some electrical tape. So I flagged off all three of these. This is my brake lights. So one is power for running lights, one is power for brake light, and one is ground. You have those sitting against your frame or something, it's going to ground out. So don't forget that. Let's hear what this thing sounds like. You excited? Here we go. Nice and quiet at idle. Sounds perfect. It's not too loud, but it's got some meat to it, right? Everything looks good. And that's the end.